What have you already learned? What is it?
That if I'm more patient with my extremely old Chihuahua, he doesn't bite me when I try and take him out of the bed in the morning.
Whoa. I feel like you need to share that with the Chihuahua owning population because Chihuahuas are psychos. And
our other two are fine. The 13-year-old is a bastard.
All right. Older they get, the harder they fall. I don't know. All right. I got some guy mad at me because I put a video up of a bird touching a electric wire and then falling off the thing. And then somebody edited it to look like a finished chicken landed in his lap. And I thought it was kind of funny. And I have someone very mad at me now because...
That's because it was funny, Scott.
Well, there's a bird dying. He's very upset that this bird died. And I said, well, I actually don't know if the bird died. He fell off of there, may have just been shocked like a taser style. And if he did die, I don't know. Reasoning with the internet, it's like pulling teeth. And I'm all out of teeth.
Sometimes animals touch electric things and they die. And sometimes it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it's dark.
Well,
it's okay.
I'll tell this guy to email you next time because he's
by all means. My filters work great.
Sweet.
My trash can is looking for company.
Oh, good. Well, all right. I'm in a better mood already because Jocelyn's laugh makes me happy. I love her laugh. I say that as if you're not here, but I really like your laugh. It makes me laugh and it makes me happy. All right, here we go. We're going to record now. Thanks everybody for being here. It starts in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to The Instance. This is The Instance, episode 649. I'm Scott Johnson with Garrett Weinzierl. Garrett, welcome back.
You've been doing Joce first. I'm confused. Hi.
Hi, hello. I just mix it up.
I was totally muted.
Yeah, next time I introduce my dog first, and then the cat. And now, Jocelyn.
Oh, hi, Rainer. I hope you're doing well.
Jocelyn Kearney also joining us. Hi, Joss. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. We didn't have a show last week. I missed you guys. I dealt with it. It was okay. Everything was fine, but missed hanging out with you guys. It's funny you bring that up, Garrett. My dog, Jim Raynor, the female dog. No one understands that, but people who are longtime fans of Blizzard games. And we also have a cat named Deckard, and he's based on Deckard Cain. So when the Blizzard stuff happened, my daughter was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start referring to Deckard as Deckard from Blade Runner. And I went, oh, okay, great. I'll start calling Raynor from, and now I have no Raynors. What other Raynors are there? Can you guys think of one?
No
other famous Raynors?
Be other, though, right? Like
there has to be. Like
Google will save us all.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't ever try that.
It's apparently a garage door company.
Great.
This is the first result on Google.
Great. Wonderful.
Raynor of the garage doors, first of her name.
Yeah, but I got bad news for you. All of the Google images are Jim Raynor, and a couple of them are this garage door company's logo.
Fantastic. Great. I really painted her in a corner. What's ironic about that is she actually got stuck in a garage door once, and that makes it even funnier because it came down and hit her on the back. So there's that. Well, anyway, it's good to have you guys here. We're gonna jump right in. I wanted to remind folks though, at the top of the show, this show is part of a trilogy, really, a triumvirate, if you might, called Frog Pants Plays. FrogPantsPlays.com will take you to the 3 shows, but basically it's this show where we take on huge topics and whittle them down with the best of our ability. There's Core, where we tackle the entire industry, both news and games we're playing, that sort of stuff, and the Boop Show, which is all about indies. If you'd like to know more about those other 2 shows, go check it out, frogpantsplays.com. Now this. All right, let's get into it. I can't remember who came up with this, but narrative in video games is a topic we've had on our topic sheet for a while. And it's obviously a huge part of gaming. I was talking to my daughter last night who got graduated with a degree in games engineering. Her favorite class during her entire time in school was her narrative, or I forgot the exact name of the class, but it was basically narratives in games or writing. They basically train kids how to write stories and use games as a way to tell those stories, both traditional storytelling methods as well as gameplay, telling the story for you or with you. And she loved that. And I know one of the professors up there who teaches it. And one of these days I want to have her on so we can talk about this stuff a little deeper. But the concept of narrative in video games, narrative-driven games, is certainly nothing new. And while lately, I'd say, when I say lately, in the last 6 to 10 years, there seemed to be a pulling away from narrative games because it seemed like for big AAA companies anyway, narrative games didn't represent a long tail of money. That was coming from things like battle royales, more recently, but in the case of 10 years ago, maybe something like Dota and League of Legends and that sort of thing. Games that were more games as services and games that were meant to keep you around for a really long time, buying skins, spending money in stores, buying boosts, that sort of stuff. And so you saw a lot of companies like EA and others say, well, what if the big games that are typically story-based, where we have a big campaign, like our new Star Wars game, for example, what if that also had a bunch of loot boxes in it and ways to keep people just on the hook for a really long time? And I'm happy to say I feel like we're now at a point where we're shifting back, and we're now moving away from this idea that you can monetize every little thing in every little game, and back to embracing the possibility of big narrative experiences that have a beginning and an end and maybe some DLC, but that's kind of the game, and that's what you paid for, and that's what you played. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about here. To start things off, let's talk about the Sony way. This is the Sony way. Sony's method right now, their plan for dominance through the PS4 era and forward, and even now with PS5, I still believe, is relying on big titles that are primarily narrative-based games. Games like God of War, Ragnarok. Games like the upcoming Wolverine, Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Deathloop, which just came out, also on PC, but, very story-driven game. And that's their bread and butter. Big, exclusive titles that you can really only get there, and you can't get anywhere else. And I think their dominance in that area and their reliance in that area is an interesting one. Because I think it's the smart thing to do for what gamers actually want out of big, epic game experiences, but it is not the financial tail that maybe Microsoft gets by having Game Pass and by having these subscription services that are, that are sort of dominating right now. So, any thoughts on the Sony thing? Like, do we like that that's where they're at, and that Sony relies so much on, like, hey, here's Kratos again. You're gonna get a big 30-hour open world game. Check it out, yo. I mean, is that still a strength for them, or is it more of a weakness?
It's absolutely a strength, I think. Sorry, Garrett.
Oh, I was just gonna say yes. And if you'd like to go to the outro now, that's my answer.
Yeah, that's your whole answer. That's it. We're done. Sony has the right idea. I mean, I loved it. Like that Sony event, 2 weeks ago now, or no, a week ago, whatever it was. They showed all this stuff.
It was last Thursday.
It was last week, wasn't it?
Was
yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
Time's weird. I don't know what time it is.
Yeah, because we had talked about potentially doing it for Friday, and then Joce couldn't make it, and so we're like, all right, we'll save it for next week.
Oh, right.
This was already out.
Yeah, that's what's messed with me. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely Sony's strong suit, which is hilarious too, because you talking about how like narrative games being profitable has not been the story for a long time, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, games as a service is the first thing I think in my entire life I was ever old man get off my lawn about. Yeah. I was just like, no, just let me buy a freaking game and that be the thing, and it has the shit I want to do in it, and we're just done.
Yeah.
DLC was the first thing in my entire life I was ever grumpy about, and that day a neckbeard was born.
A lovely neckbeard.
I think that's a really good point, Garrett, because I think that like game companies have sort of started to realize, I think, that there's only so much room in a person's life for games as a service, right? Like, no matter who you are, you have X number of hours in a given day. And so if everyone and their mom is putting out a game that they expect you to play over and over and over again forever, like, I mean, you've got like MMOs that do that. Garrett, we've got Hearthstone that does that. Like, there's only so many, for me, it's Dead by Daylight. Like, there's only so many things I can play with like seasons and competitive multiplayer and things like that, because they just suck up so much time. I'm looking for experiences now because I'm really set in those worlds. So I'm looking for experiences that will have an end, that are a chunk of content. Yeah. And I can say, I'm going to get a story. I'm going to get some really cool mechanics. I'm going to enjoy myself. but then it's done.
Yeah.
Like, it being done is a selling point.
Yeah.
I will pay more for it to have an end.
I agree with this. I think that's a really good point. And it used to be that's all we had, right? Like that's all games would do. You'd get a game, you'd get it on cartridge, you'd play it, it'd be done. You might get a sequel in a couple of years, but that's a whole nother game, and that can also have a beginning and an end. So, you know, I could say, for example, Zelda games, Legend of Zelda games are that. They are start to finish games with very few exceptions, a couple of weird offshoots, and what was that weird 4-player one they had for a while. But for the most part, it's this big experience, and you play it, and it had its own unique bunch of gimmicks and things and stuff that happen in the game, and then you come up with a sequel or another in the series, and that one does its own thing. This Breath of the Wild sequel may be more of a true sequel, though. It's hard to tell from this angle because I don't know what they're actually changing in that game. They haven't really been that detailed about it, and it's not nearly done. But but those are good examples of it. And I'm with you. Like, there are plenty of games. I guess what I'm saying is there's now an ecosystem where both things can be true, and you can thrive. You know, the Fortnites of the world and the Warframes of the world and the whatevers of the world can thrive and have their games as a service and have the competitive stuff and have the niche that you want to have as a gamer and really, identify yourself with that game. I did that with WoW for 15 years. You know, it was my game, and it didn't matter what other games I would play. That game was always sort of happening, and I had kind of room for one of those. You'd experiment around a little, but you always just kind of, if you're going to play an MMO, you got room for like one. And so everybody and their dog saying, well, we need to get some of that MMO money, or we need to get some of that Fortnite money, is usually a folly, because only 1 or 2 of you are going to be able to do it. And if 100 of you try, 98 of you are going to fail. And it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you really don't know what's going to hit with gamers. Like, who would have guessed Roblox would be the thing that it is? Nobody in their wildest imagination would look at Roblox and go, what is this? Some kind of bad Minecrafty weird kids thing that's garbage or whatever. That thing is a monster popularity, especially with kids. And there's no
Among Us is another one.
That's another good one. Yeah. Like, who would have, that's even weirder because it comes out in 2017. Nobody plays it. No one cares about that game. They're already working on a sequel.
There's
and then
no one
suddenly,
on this earth happier for the pandemic than the studio that made Among Us.
I know, right? Like, that thing hit so hard, and you know, part of it is big streamers picked it up and got hooked on it for a while, and all of that. But yeah, you can't predict these things, and they scrap their sequel plans and are like just focused on the main game, which is probably the smart thing to do. But the point is,
you like money and success.
Exactly.
Seemed like a smart play.
But it's easy to look at EA and go, they're the biggest offenders in this case because they've got plenty of IP, great track record in the past of big, immersive, single-player content. And then they have this run of like, we're going to just multiplayer or loot box everything. And it just really alienates their player base. And now they're back to like, hey, we're making a new Dead Space. And it's a complete remake of the original, but done totally new with a new engine and all this stuff. And we're also making new Dragon Age. And we're not going to make it a game as a service like it was originally planned to be. They were going to try to do the whole Anthem thing. And Anthem, was another, hey, we want to be Destiny. And it didn't work. So I'm thrilled about it. The idea that EA is going to say to their creators and their devs and their teams, hey, let's get back to some good old-fashioned, let's make some big-ass cool games, might actually ingratiate me toward EA for once in the history of the company in a long time. So I'm excited. Like, bring it on. I want more stories, man. Like, give me some smart storyteller. Give me a cool story. I'm ready to rock. Well, like, why were so many people excited about Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic getting a remake during that Sony event? Because that game is awesome, and the story's incredible, and it's a throwback to a time where that's what we valued most, and we weren't waiting
I haven't played it, and the old one looks like butt.
Either.
Have you guys not played? Oh.
I have played it on iPad. I didn't get off the first planet.
Oh, Garrett.
I was just like, this is ugly.
It is ugly.
This is too ugly for me.
Yeah, Jocelyn, you didn't play it either?
Nope.
I didn't have an OG
I'm not
Xbox.
a huge Star Wars person, so it never really
That's true.
registered
Yeah.
to me.
It takes place like something crazy, like 4,000 years before the
Yeah.
movies.
It's
It's just
I
like
really like when they do that. Like,
yeah, it's
'cause
just
we
like,
talked
yo,
about
we
it with
got-
ESO, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
so far before all the stuff that it's in the universe, but like will never impact the
yeah,
stuff
it's
that you
got
already know.
spaceships and laser swords.
Yeah.
Like that's really about as much as it really matters to Star Wars. And they get to use the similar or same alien races and stuff like that. But yeah, I didn't have an OG Xbox. I did all of my Haloing over at friends' houses, and KOTOR wasn't really something you go over to your friend's house to kill 4 Red Bulls and play games on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
Having a restricted console library was also my problem with a lot of games. Like, there's so many games that I say, oh, I've never played. Like God of War, I've never played. I didn't have a PlayStation until the PlayStation 3. So, like,
man. So you don't have the connection to those earlier action-based games. You
I
played
mean,
the newer
Nintendo
one.
all day, Nintendo all day.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the other two,
Well, I mean, and I
Things
think
are falling into sharper clarity. I didn't realize you were like all Nintendo all the time.
yeah.
I think that's
I
great.
wonder you're like a
That's why
walking
it's so bubbly and
unicorn.
colorful.
Yeah. What do you think this addicting laugh of
Nintendo
hers?
all the time.
Yeah. It's all
I,
about all.
was a- I had a Nintendo into Sega into Sony. No, Nintendo, Sega, back to Nintendo for the 64. Then I got a PS2.
Oh, gotcha. All right. And then you did you partake in the GameCube at all?
I did. That was the first
Yeah.
console I bought with like my own money. The PS2 was the last console I was ever gifted to me like by my parents. I was like, I got one, and I usually got one like 2 years after it released when the price came down.
Yeah. I love the
And
GameCube.
so, yeah, no, the GameCube went on sale, and I had remembered reading, I don't know what magazine about, I think it was that tech demo they did.
Yeah.
And I like thought that was going to be the next Zelda game, and then Wind Waker came out, and I was really mad. But that was the whole reason I bought a GameCube.
Yeah. Yeah, Wind Waker's one of the greatest games ever made ever. So
yeah, I listen. I was like maximum shitty angsty teen when Wind Waker came out. I wanted nothing to do with that Powerpuff Girls looking nightmare, and I have since played some of it. I haven't gotten around to beating it. I was actually really, really hoping the Wii U version would come out for the Switch.
Oh, me too.
But for some reason, Nintendo said no. The 3 people that bought a Wii U can enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a bummer. There's a pretty good emulated PC version, but it's like illegal and weird to get and all that. So
Damn, the illegal PC.
I know, weird,
things have
right?
Always
Strange.
Stopped me from enjoying.
always
Thanks.
held you back.
Always.
Yeah. You're
Always.
you're a straight shooter there, Garrett. You're just a guy who's trying to get through life without
Never
ever
in my
pirating
life
anything.
have I installed. What is an emulator? What are you talking about?
Yeah, what even
Scott?
is
I don't
that?
know what this is.
Yeah, what is MAME? I don't know. But yeah, like that game is incredible, and that was an amazing device, I thought at the time, and it was about the only really great must-have game on there. I will also say that, like at the end of the day, I'm not sure the GameCube had a lot of other killer titles. Had a good Mario Kart. It had a good-
Whoa.
Yeah,
All right,
It
so
had the best Buffy game ever made of life ever.
hold on.
Whoa,
Buffy game.
wow. Okay, now we're getting the teenage girl perspective. There's a Buffy game on GameCube. I
Yes,
literally
help me.
didn't
There
know this
is a Buffy-
existed.
It's called Chaos Bleeds, and it is amazing.
Okay,
Chaos.
well, frankly, now I'm surprised because it was called Chaos Bleeds. I'm surprised I didn't buy it just on name alone, given the age I was.
Oh, there it
with the
is.
GameCube,
Chaos
but
Bleeds. You can get this on eBay.
It's so good.
I promise we'll get back to narrative games here in a second. But
It's a single player narrative game. We can talk about Chaos
yeah,
Bleeds.
this had a story. Tell me about this. Did it have the cast? Like, was Sarah Michelle Gellar talking and all that?
Oh
or-
yeah, it had like all of them, but put into a video game. It had all the voiceover and everything. It was a new story. You could play as all the different characters. It was so good.
Okay.
I also I think Double Dash might legitimately be my favorite Mario Kart. So like,
Oh, I
GameCube had
love
some
Double
bangers.
Dash.
Yeah.
Huge fan. Yeah, I liked it too. Okay, so here I just found a full playthrough of this game. I did not know this existed. I didn't know this existed. This is amazing. So and it was like good. You wouldn't call this a bad video
Oh
game.
yeah, I've played it through like probably 8 times. I was also in university at the time, so there's a chance I was just trying to avoid my studies. But
Yeah.
also it was great.
All right. Oh yeah. Look at this third person. Sarah Michelle Gellar. She just found a. She just found a what do you call it? A shovel. She just killed 2 vampires with a shovel. All right. Sign me up. I
Yeah.
just changed my mind.
I'm Googling this furiously, and so it looks like this was not a GameCube exclusive because I'm seeing it with Xbox art and PlayStation 2 art.
Oh, okay. It was everywhere, was it?
Oh yeah, look at this. Okay,
We've-
yeah,
Actually, I had something, but that's
a
where
game
I
was
played it was on that GameCube.
I mean, I guess Resident Evil 4 was a GameCube exclusive for the generation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, that was the first game, Resident Evil game I played all the way through.
That's a good game still a good game.
Yeah, I tried playing the old ones, and I was like, "Why? What do you mean you can't control the camera? Who thought this was a good idea?"
Dude, the tank controls on those old games is freaking hideous. I love Code Veronica though. But anyway, the point is this is something I didn't ever heard of, and it reviewed well. I'm looking at the average Metacritic score of like 74%. That's pretty high.
Why do you sound so shocked?
I guess back then,
because it's a licensed game.
Yeah,
and
back then
licensed
licensed
games
were
such a
bad
crapshoot in the 2000s.
yeah,
Like,
that was the era where every licensed game was almost a death sentence for that game.
although, boy, we're just this is just member berries. I hope everyone enjoys this talk we're having right now. The two movie licensed Lord of the Rings games that were around this era were surprisingly good.
Oh yeah, those were all right. I feel like there was some. Also, that old Wolverine game on the 360 was okay. Like there was a time where.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I know the one you're talking. The one that was like rated M and there was like blood and stuff. That thing was gnarly.
He was
that
putting
game
claws
was
through
rad.
people's heads and stuff. Like it was for that Origins movie that was so bad, but the game was good. And sometimes licensed games. We should do a topic on license. But yeah, sometimes they work out. And you know what? I learned today that the Buffy one was one of those. So good job.
Yep.
You've educated us.
It even tied in with the TV show. I mean,
Yeah. Did it have David Boreanaz in it? Was he in there?
no, this was post Angel. This was around season 5.
All
so
right. I just like saying David Boreanaz.
Were they reusing a bunch of the Firefly cast because they were still under contract of a canceled show?
Wait, was it gone by
No.
then? Was it a canceled show then, or was it still on the air? I don't remember.
I don't know, but isn't that why they all appeared in Buffy at one point?
That's a weird thing. I didn't know that. Look at you with the hot knowledge.
I thought. I mean, this is like urban legend. I've never actually verified this with facts. This is just what I heard.
Well, we now live in a better time where licensed stuff is taken seriously, and I think This is one comment I wanted to make about the Sony presentation. It doesn't take much for me to see the Insomniac name and immediately go, "Oh, well, of course I want that game." Even when they don't show me anything, like they just showed a pre-rendered trailer in a bar where literally nothing happens other than his claws come out and he's sitting at the bar and it says Wolverine at the end. But it's enough for me to see Insomniac and go, have they ever made a bad video game? I don't think they have. Like it's all been good.
They are absolutely just putting out a string of bangers.
Yeah. Spider-Man game's amazing. The Miles Morales thing, amazing. They did all the Ratchet and Clanks. By all accounts, that new Ratchet and Clank is amazing. Like, yeah, why wouldn't you trust those guys? Just buy all their games. And that was enough for me. The one thing of that entire show, honestly, that I was like, all right, convince me I need to just shell out the money and get a PS4 already. Where am I going to do this? It was that moment. And it wasn't even a game yet. In fact, I'll bet there's barely any game done on it yet. It's just an announcement for a game that's probably 2 years away at the least.
Considering the only two of those Marvel games, only one of them had a date, and it was Spider-Man 2, and it was 2023.
Yeah.
It was just a year date. It wasn't anything else. I'm like, Wolverine didn't even have a year, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna probably be 40 by the time this comes out.
This is a long tail.
I was
game.
gonna say, when you put Wolverine in the narrative driven games at the top, I was like, are we sure? Do we know?
I mean, I don't think it's gonna be Wolverine like an Among Us riff.
Right. But it could be
There's
good.
been a battle in that bar. Can we rule anything out?
Although you could do that, except that'd be a Mystique game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like, no,
Maybe
the
that
Senator
was
is Mystique.
Oh, that would
Senator
be.
was
I would
not
hate
Mystique.
that. Mystique's my favorite, or Mystique's my least favorite MacGuffin in all the Marvel universe. I hate a thing where you're like, oh, that could be anybody, but it's probably Mystique.
No, it gets me every time. Every time there's a Mystique reveal, I'm like, oh, I forgot about Mystique.
Oh, see,
I'm so gullible in X-Men movies.
you're the target there. You're a total.
Yeah.
You're a total. What do they call that? You're
low intelligence. I am the target.
You're a mark in that movie, is what you are. Well, anyway, it's back to the whole narrative point. I think this is an interesting segue because we are at a place where it's no longer that death sentence to have a licensed property. If you put it in the hands of good developers, They've been able to take all sorts of stuff and make them good. They're like literally, I can't think of a bad recent licensed game there's any higher rate of that than just regular games that are bad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's no longer that thing where like, oh great, you're making a thing based on Iron Man. Good luck with that. Like they're good games now. I mean,
How the hell do we not have an Iron Man game, by the way?
Well, we did in the 360 had one and it was bad.
Right?
Yeah. But the 360 one was bad. Did you guys play that? It was really bad.
No, I mean, so was the Avengers, so that was my point. Why don't we have a good Iron Man game?
But is it bad? Or is
Yes.
that game just too samey? Is it bad? Like bad. Define bad. I don't want to. I don't want
to
to
show in and of itself.
You have more money than God, and you come out with a mediocre at best Avengers game. That's
your
anyway.
hot take on that. Do you think it's as bad?
Like the narrative games. Listen, the only person I've heard tell me it's good is Patrick, and he's the biggest Marvel fan I know. So
well, he doesn't count. Yeah. He I mean, he counts in large amounts, but he's the kind of person that if you say there's a Marvel thing going on, he will accept all the weaknesses, no problem, and embrace them and say,
yeah,
that's
that's why you
great.
shouldn't listen to me talk about Star Wars because I'm gonna like it no matter what.
That's true. Yeah, I could say those prequels are terrible, and Garrett will say they are great. Right?
3 is good. I will say 3 is good.
Good.
1 and 2 are bad.
Compared to 1 and 2, or on its own, it's good. That's the question.
I love 3, and you cannot take this away from me.
I liked 1.
See, Jocelyn.
Oh my God, Joss. I don't like Star Wars. Defends Phantom Menace. You're the best. You are the most unique human being. Like everyone's got the same Star Wars opinion, and then you come in with, yeah, they're okay, I guess, but that Phantom Menace, that one's dope.
Yeah, that was pretty dope.
I love it. I love it. It's so refreshing.
I loved it. I had a good time.
Yeah, you know what?
But
I kind of admire that.
So I was like, what is the Star Wars thing? Oh, this is neat.
Yeah. See, I admire that because if you don't have the devotion to it that a lot of people do, like Garrett or me or anyone else who's super into Star Wars and surprised to hear when people aren't giant Star Wars fans, it must be nice to just see it for what it is and go, yeah, it was an okay time.
Yeah, I'd love to wash my brain and see it for the first time. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Well, and like I never watched the Star Wars movies when I was little, so like I literally watched stuff from the 70s in the early 2000s and went, okay.
Yeah.
And I already knew all the everything from just being in pop culture. And then Phantom Menace came out and I was like, oh, this is new and shiny.
Yeah. No, it's sometimes that's the only reason you need to get into a thing, and I kind of envy it because all the expectations that we have, you don't have. You just went in there going, oh, it's a movie. Oh, I had a good time. The rest of us are like all this baggage, all of this old, original trilogy baggage, and we have to take it into that movie, and there's nothing we can do about it. Which
actually applies to games too. A lot of the licensed stuff, like they're kind of walking that same line that a lot of the movies and TV shows do too, right? Is that like they're coming in with like, hey, we're going to do this narrative experience in this universe, but then everyone's like, ooh, expectations are up here. Meanwhile, you get things like Horizon Zero Dawn, which was a huge Sony thing for me. It's like one of my favorite games. Can't wait for Forbidden West.
Yeah.
And it's like when I first saw that, I was like, okay, you're primitive like humans fighting robot dinosaurs. Like, what the hell is this? And who thought that was a good idea? Like, my expectations were low.
Yeah.
And then it came out and I was like, damn, Sony, my emotions.
Yeah. That game is great. It's so good. I love it on PC as well. It's just an amazing game. That sequel should be incredible. But again, there's an example of a game that is leaned really hard into this is a narrative experience primarily. Mechanically, all of that's there, but this isn't about now that you've beaten this. See how many do you want to buy this outfit for Aloy? I mean, there's a lot of stuff to unlock, but they don't go down that road, and I appreciate that. I don't want that anymore. I'm done with it. Like, I don't want everything to look like a mobile game, and I know that's what everybody's chasing. They all want this like residual trickle down money policy on a game, have it last longer than the 6-month window of popularity or whatever. And I just think maybe make really good ones that have that window and just keep making those. People
talking about that transition too, and you mentioned EA, we just got a Star Wars tangent. Like that's exactly what Fallen Order was. That is the transition. Like we're back to oh, thank God, we're getting like a straightforward narrative game from the only people allowed to make a Star Wars game. Although now with the KOTOR remake, that appears to not be the case.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's a third. I guess it's EA's still involved, right? Like
they're not.
They're not at all.
No, Aspyr has no known links to EA. I went digging. I couldn't find jack.
How did that? That must be that must be Disney. Star Wars owns the rights again and are picking whatever they want to pick.
Well, Aspyr has ported a ton of Star Wars games, like that Republic Commando remaster, which is barely remastered, is basically widescreen now on Switch.
Yeah,
that was them.
Okay.
They also did all the iOS ports. Like if you played KOTOR on iOS, that was them. They did the Pod Racer remaster. That they've been like just remastering old Star Wars games. But yeah. Anyway, Fallen Order was my point. Which is that was definitely. That's the first time I like it couldn't be more clear for me, because Battlefront 2 essentially killed loot boxes.
Yeah, that was
we haven't really seen more loot boxes since then.
No, it was a point in time where that was about to change. Then that was the game that changed it.
That was a shark jumping moment.
Yeah. Without a doubt. It's great now, by the way. That game's real good now.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 is solid.
Yeah.
It what an about face. Like, I mean, it took it was about a year of updates, but they course corrected really, really quickly with however they could, and then they ended up building a really good game out of it. But
it's no
like
Man's
going
Sky,
from that to Fallen Order was like, oh, yeah, you learned a hard lesson, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I'm glad they did, because that game is great.
Yeah. That's another dev I always trust, though, too. When I hear Respawn, I go, oh, well, that'll be quality. That'll be a nice game. And Respawn, there's that leak the other day from NVIDIA's GeForce Now service that said that there is a Titanfall 3 in the works, which has me super excited.
You want to talk about good narratives. Oh, my God. Titanfall 2.
2 is so good.
Oh.
It's so good. I'm just sitting here in my own juice. I'm so excited.
Joce, have you played it?
Not 2. I played the first one.
Oh, 2's
Jocelyn,
great.
you need to play 2.
I think you can get it for 3 cents right now. Like,
it's so cheap.
Dip your toe in.
If you have Game Pass, it's just free. It's such.
I do have Game Pass.
Oh, then you totally can play it on PC for free. This is
like a weekend. Like you can knock it out real quick, and it's a really it's a super tight narrative.
It's my favorite shooter campaign, and I played them all, and it's by far my favorite shooter campaign. I loved it so much. I fell in love with that robot. I got teary in that game, and I don't do that very often. Talk about an example of strong narrative in a game where you're just shooting a lot of shit. Like, that game was so good at endearing me to my freaking mech, and having all that stuff really matter. Oh, it was so good. Now I'm excited to hear you play. You need to play that game.
Okay. Oh, have it done for next week.
All right, you get in there. You get that done. You know what else is really good in that game is it's sort of an aside, because we're not talking about multiplayer today, but the multiplayer is real good in there. In that game,
that game was just that was people have now kind of rediscovered it post Apex Legends.
Yeah,
but that was such a sleeper. That is one of my all-time favorite shooters, period.
That's
like,
so
favorite shooters, single player, favorite shooters, multiplayer.
Yeah,
like, it was just such a good package.
Yeah, and this again, if that's true, they're really making that. This is hopefully an EA game that will not be stifled by executive decisions to try to loot box it to death or do whatever they're going to do.
You know that they've got their sports games. They can keep doing that too. I think they're loosening their grip a little bit on the the fiction, like the genre fiction games that they're putting out.
Yeah, I agree.
Certainly seems to be the case. And we had already, Scott, you and I a while back had a conversation about the most recent Need for Speed, Heat, which I finally beat, and that game is good.
Heat is good.
Surprisingly good.
Yeah.
With your face and your G sound, I wasn't sure if you were going to say good or garbage. Like, it really could have gone either way there.
Most Need for Speed games for like the last 10 years were garbage. This one is the best I've played probably since Most Wanted.
Yeah.
Which was college.
Yeah, it's very good. It's a surprise, and a lot of people, I think, just don't believe it on the surface, and then they don't give it a chance. But that game deserves your playtime. It's actually really good.
Yeah, but EA and their satellite studios, they're making some good stuff. Like, you don't think about it, because I think EA's had a bad reputation for a while now, but
and they earned
the
it.
newer stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, they definitely earned it for sure. But they're clawing their way back out of that hole.
Yeah, it should be good. I did a little bit of math you guys might find interesting. So the biggest streamers, or the biggest streams, I should say, on Twitch these days are still battle royales and shooters and to some degree MOBAs and that sort of stuff. Like the usual suspects are still taking your top spots. However, if you do the math and look at total game streams, by far and away, game streams, even with small audiences, 1,000 people here, 2 people there, whatever, just everything in between, by and large and by far are narrative-driven games. That's what people are watching when you look at the spread. If you're going, well, I just want to watch one guy do one thing, well, sure, you're going to get, Fortnite Joe doing Fortnite Joe things. But there is a massive amount of narrative-based games getting played online. And I think there's a hesitancy for players, or streamers even, to just dive into a good narrative experience in their streams because they don't know if that's entertaining for people. But I think it is. I think people love that stuff. The most fun I've ever had on my streams is where I'm playing narrative games, although they usually are horror games where I'm screaming like an idiot, and that's probably
which
the
is
main
why
reason.
people watch. Let's be honest. Scott screaming at a horror game is a genre in and of itself.
It kind of is. Unfortunately,
That's-
true. Yeah. I'll
Yeah,
give you an
that
example.
is,
I have one right here. That's me screaming.
Wow.
I love that one. That one sounds so remarkably like what's this? Marv from the first Home Alone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess 2 as well. Marv is in that as
Yeah,
well.
what it reminds me of is this should be the Angry Chicken thing. Welcome to the Angry Chicken. Hearthstone, taught because it sounds like a chicken, like a pissed off chicken.
My backyard neighbors have a chicken coop. I never heard them make a sound like that. Not once.
Yeah,
Not once.
it's a bummer
but-
though because it's the only genre that I truly hate playing, but will do it on streams for the views. Like I only do this because someone will watch it. Otherwise, by myself, forget it. No, I can't.
You're a slave to the views.
Yeah, I'm a slave to the views,
and
baby.
I mean, so many streamers are, right? Like that's the whole thing. And it is really, really difficult to establish yourself as a variety streamer.
Yeah.
I think like there are so many streamers that I follow for a specific thing that when they leave that specific thing, I drop off completely. Like, I mean, well, Garrett, he'll probably laugh at this one, but Savitz, when he stopped streaming Hearthstone for a while, I stopped watching him.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 2 years where I was just didn't tune into that stream. And then now he's back playing Battleground. So now I watch him again. And there's multiple streamers like that. Some Dead by Daylight streamers that go over to just general horror when the game's not in a great balanced place. And I'm like, I don't really watch you for that though. I watch you for DBD. So, and it is really difficult because narrative games also ride this kind of line where you kind of want to see it and it's the new hotness and everybody's playing it and whatever, but then there's also that spoiler piece that you're going to have some viewers that maybe are tuning out because they want to play it themselves, so then they're not watching you. So there's like the variety streaming aspect where it's really hard to grab people if they're not into what you're playing that day, but then also the spoilers factor where if it's the new hotness, people are going to be like, well, I'd rather just go sit upstairs and play it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like your reactions are cool, but also you're ruining the game.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point because in my head I would think that it would be more about the personality and the person playing, and it wouldn't matter what they're playing. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of viewers, But the large
there are
number.
some people that I will watch play anything, but they also establish themselves that way.
Right,
and
right.
establishing yourself as a variety streamer is very, very difficult.
it's
which
tricky.
is probably why you're
Day 9 is
seeing
that for me.
Yeah.
you're probably seeing a lot of viewers spread out among those streams because again, there are a lot of people doing it, and so there are a lot of options.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Let's talk about some of the games that had the biggest effect on us, and we don't have to get into too much weeds about why they did, but for me, I'm surprised after looking at my list how much of it is indie. But the games that were mostly story-driven that really drove me to, I don't know, remember them, want to play them again, think of them so highly, recommend them, that sort of stuff, was primarily a little game called Thomas Was Alone. And I don't know how many people played this game, but it was a very small indie game, 2013, 14, maybe even earlier. I forget when this was, by a very small team. And it blew my mind at the time, and still to this day, I just think it's magical. It was made up of shapes, and every character in it, including Thomas, is this little rectangle standing upright that you move with a controller or a keyboard or whatever, left and right, kind of a platformer type thing. And it's all he is a shape, like a basic shape. And the other shapes you run into is like a short square, and another shape is like a couple of little bricks or whatever that move together or whatever. It's all about these shapes. But what blew me away was how much story and heart was in Thomas Was Alone. And they narrate through the whole thing. Thomas came across a dibba-dibba-dibba, and you just and they would create these like moments of relationship and just meaning that I never get out of games with, you know, freaking next gen graphics. But for some reason, this game really got under my skin, and I loved it. So that was one I would call out. I would call out God of War, just kind of the opposite. That is the big AAA experience, but that game blew me away. It was like this crazy action-packed blood sport that used to be God of War is now suddenly this down-to-earth father-son story that still retains the badassery, but it's like a whole new level of nuance and you know, under the hood stuff. I loved that game, and really excited about that sequel. Another would be Machinarium. That's very indie. It's like a point-and-click adventure. I just love the style of it and the story. That game's one of the only games where I got kind of emotional. There's only like 5 games in history that have ever done that to me, and that was one of them. And then finally, Papers, Please. Do you guys remember Papers, Please from like 2012 or something like that?
I was going to put that on my list, but then I was like, I wasn't sure if it was actually like a narrative experience.
Yes.
Like if that counted, because it was like you had to make these decisions about these people's lives, but like, was it bigger than that? Does it count?
Well, that's why I like I'm glad you brought that up, because that game, I think, did something that other games have done since, maybe not as well, maybe better, but it did something nobody had done for me before, which was, here are some very mundane, task-oriented things you're going to have to do in this game. You're going to have to pay attention to names and how they spelled the names, so I make sure they're not cheating, and these are actually their papers. And, you know, for those that don't know what that game is, look it up. It's just like this dystopic sort of, you know.
You're like a border guard.
Right. In a country that's very, I don't know, North Korea, you know, Cold War Russia sort of style, is how it's all set up. And anyway, what you do in the game, very mundane, but it serves this larger narrative in a way. That mundaneness serves that narrative in a way that I've never quite experienced before, and I found it engrossing every time I played it. To this day, I could play it right now and have just that same feeling. It's also excellent on iPad if anyone has it on an iPad. But an amazing game. And part of it is that ability for the game to not tell me too much. It's a little like Mad Max Fury Road. You don't have to tell me everything about the world. You just have to give me flashes and visions of quick things that are like, oh, Gastown, that's way over there and it's on fire kind of, and what's that like? And let my brain build in all the minutia. Papers, Please does that. It makes you world build in your own imagination. And video games that can pull that off, love that. Jocelyn, you mentioned Horizon Zero Dawn, but you didn't really get into the why. Why is Horizon? Why did that land on you so hard?
The thing I really liked about the Horizon narrative for me, and I'm hopeful that Forbidden West will do the same thing, though, because it's kind of a known quantity now. I don't know if it actually will be able to, but I didn't know very much about Horizon Zero Dawn going in, other than there was a female protagonist, which was a pretty big deal. But for me, that narrative, I never knew like what the end goal was. Like it just kept naturally expanding. So when I first started playing the game, I thought that it was all about, you know, gaining acceptance back into the Nora tribe. And that's what the game was going to be about. And I was going to have these adventures and I was going to come back and they were going to be like, oh, you're so great. Come be our friend again. And that's what I thought the game was going to be. Yeah. And then they kind of like, they go through that whole proving event so quickly. And I was like, oh man, okay, so what is this game actually about? And then you start to explore the Nora territory and I'm like, okay, maybe this is it. And then they're like, oh, but then it opens up again and there's actually this whole like other area with this larger story. And it's like, it just kept moving the bar in a really interesting and natural way. And then expanding the story in the game world like exponentially. And I was just like, what is happening to this right now? Like, what is going on? This is insane.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I really remember something kind of like drawing me in and expanding in that way. Like it was just such a cool way to tell a story.
It's also got a real layer of newness on it. Like they were doing new things, new ideas, and some of the mechanics are similar. And yeah, we've all done our open world games where we're stealthing around and taking stuff down or whatever. But the story, the world, and the concepts felt totally new to me in that game, and not like just derivative of 100 other things I'd seen. And that really goes. I mean, I just think that's hard to do in gaming. Gaming's so iterative and so we're going to make a game like that game, but make it better or whatever. So rarely do you get to see something that's just like whole cloth new. And this one felt that way to me. Yeah.
It did. And I loved filling in the gaps too, because it also had that piece where it kind of touched back to our current time, right? Because we're basically like living in the apocalypse right now in Horizon Zero Dawn world. And so like it had all those touchstones and a lot of the gaps that they filled in that led to like the downfall of society felt very like realistic, like stuff that actually could happen in a timeline where it actually could happen. And I'm like like listening to these audio journals and like reading these things that I find around in these newspapers and stuff, and I'm like, damn, like this is realistic in a way that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very weird. But part of it, what really threw me in that game is there was a part where early in the game where you're kind of exploring around and you're not really sure where you are geographically in the real world.
Right.
But then you'll find one of those recordings or an old, hollow thing or whatever, and you'll read it. And one of them was like dead center in the middle of Salt Lake City, which is like 20 minutes from me. And that was weird. I was like, oh, this is set where I live. Like there was something really crazy about that until I got to the desert, which in the game was only like 100 yards north or south. In the real world, it's like 5 hours if I have to drive it. Just driving, walking, it would be days. But so, yeah, they compress some of that stuff. But I just loved it for those same reasons. I think you and I agree on that. Now, I am going to say for your next choice here, if you do play Knights of the Old Republic, you will suddenly understand why it is what Mass Effect. Let me put it this way: Mass Effect does not exist without KOTOR. It just is not a game, and I don't mean just literally like game style wise. Those BioWare guys are the same dudes who went on and said, all right, our next project is Mass Effect. So you're going to love that game. Even if you don't care about Star Wars, you're going to lose it because it's amazing. So why is Mass Effect on your list?
Mass Effect is on my list just because this is one of the first games that I felt like I really got to make some choices and build relationships with characters. Like it wasn't just telling me a story that I was working my way straight through. It was like, hey, there's these people in here. Do you want to like get to know them and form attachments? And, maybe, my experience playing through Mass Effect won't be the same as Garrett's, won't be the same as Scott's because, like we'll choose different romance interests or we'll make different choices of the people that we save. And, that was just such a cool concept for me that, and I just like grabbed onto it. And this was another game I totally missed again because of all of my lack of consoles. This was something I totally missed until Mass Effect 2 had been out for a while. And then I had a friend say to me like, hey, I really think you're going to love this. Like now that you have a system that can play it, you should go back and play the Mass Effect games. And I was like, okay. And I got into it and I was like, what the hell is this? Yeah. As someone who had been playing like Mario and Zelda and, like stuff like that, like very Nintendo universe based. And then I hit this Mass Effect thing and I'm like, holy hell.
Yeah. Yeah. It was it's amazing. But that's why I'm looking forward to your KOTOR playthrough because you're going to go, oh, I see the connective DNA here. Like this is where all this started. And it's going to make you wish they, I don't know, made a Mass Effect MMO or something. Maybe they will one day, but
maybe I
would play in that universe till my eyes bled. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm not saying
settle for a good 4.
And I'm not saying it'll be. Yeah, exactly. But I'm not even saying it'll be good or anything. I just want to run around in that universe.
Cerberus pasted you together again. Yeah, it took some time.
I'm okay with it.
We needed some extra Lego parts, but yeah, we got it.
Yeah, Smoking Man, he has ways. He has his ways. Your last one here was Fable 3. I really like the Fable series. I like 2 in particular. Why did 3 land on you so hard?
Well, 3, another one very similar to Mass Effect, is like that's the one that came out. I haven't actually played the other 2 previous to that, but for me, this one just stuck with me for whatever reason. I loved this game, and actually my tattoo is influenced by Fable 3 because it's a Zelda tattoo. If you guys don't know, it's a Zelda tattoo, but I had to literally fight with the tattoo artist to get her to not put an outline on it. I'm like, I don't want an outline. I just want a blue tattoo that kind of like fades into my skin. And she was like, that's insane. It's not going to last. I've had it for like 15 years. It's still there.
Wow.
But, well, not 15 years. Anyways, over 10.
Okay.
And it's still there. It's fine.
Yeah.
And the reason that I wanted that was because of Fable 3. Because if you made all of the good decisions in the game, all of your tattoos glowed blue. And so it's like a reminder to me that I should be a good person so that my tattoo is blue.
Oh, I love that. That's nice. That's actually really nice. You always hear about game tattoos, but nobody ever does it with any kind of meaning. They're just like, I think Link is cool, so they put Link on themselves. But that's got more meaning. I like that a lot. I'm looking at some old video, and while I was doing that, I realized that I forgot there's a new a new Fable game coming. I totally forgot they're working on that.
There is, yeah, there is. Eventually, yeah, there is.
That could be interesting. Yeah. I mean, I know it's not Bullfrog or I can't remember the old developer. They're not there anymore. Something Lionhead Studios. That's it. They're not doing it, but I don't know. Microsoft's spending a lot of money on game dev right now, so maybe they could really pull this off. And your new favorite narrative will be Fable 4.
Yeah, I liked that you could be a good guy or a bad guy, which also is obviously something that Mass Effect had as well. But it like had a real impact on like you personally as the character, and I don't know, it just, for some reason, that game really stuck with me. I mean, it had like the family thing. I mean, they throw a really seriously difficult decision at you right off the bat. Yeah. It's like, do you want to save all the townspeople or the person you love? Oh,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, right? That's
like, throw me in the deep end.
Yeah,
what the hell?
Serious choice making you got to make there.
Yeah.
Well, that's
and
great.
I really liked the choices as you like navigated your way through.
The game is still on. Let's see, I was just checking Game Pass. I guess I can play that game. Yeah, it's on there. Fable 3. I don't know if I ever played. I played a little of Fable 3 and then bounced off, and I don't remember why. Played 2 to death. Maybe 3 would be worth going back to. It doesn't look that bad. You know what I mean? Like 360
got
stuff.
horribly into any of the Fable games.
Oh, Garrett, that's just.
I tried all of them, and I always just got kind of bored.
Really? I liked I thought the crafting was really interesting in those games.
I don't think I really ever took to the combat.
I gotcha.
There's just a lot of hacking and slashing in that game, and it just didn't do much for me.
If you get the pistol, I can't remember how you could equip stuff, but a pistol and sword combo was pretty solid in that game. It was all right, if I remember right.
I always like the style. I like the art style of Fable quite a bit.
Garrett, how do you feel about The Last of Us? That's like your hot business, right?
I think it's the greatest story ever told in video game form.
Damn. That's wow.
Like,
don't hold back any. My gosh, that's insane. That's intense.
I'm bringing the AAA non-artsy representation to my list of favorite narrative games. The first Last of Us it came out pretty early into Katie and me living together.
Yeah.
And Katie likes Zelda and World of Warcraft, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
She doesn't really play many games outside of that.
Yeah.
And this is the first game where she got mad at me when I was playing it, and she came home and I was already like on to the next chapter. She's like, "No, I want to see every second of this."
Yeah. See, that's an interesting thing. A lot of people really like this game when someone else plays it and they just are there for the story. That's kind of how I would be. I'd rather watch you play this than play it myself.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10. Doesn't matter how good the damn story is.
Yeah.
Katie will eventually get bored of me hogging the TV if I'm playing a new narrative game every single night.
Yeah.
But Last of Us, I think we beat it in about 6 days because we were just every night. It was like, let's do it. Let's get in there. Like, we just couldn't put it down. And
I love those experiences when regardless of like which spouse is playing, because my husband and I do this all the time too, where like he'll play and I'll just watch, and like I love those experiences that pull you in as a duo, even though it's only one of you that's actually doing the controls.
Sure.
Yeah. I know Katie, like, really, I think she saw a lot of herself in Ellie. Like, Katie grew up like as a tomboy, and she's just kind of a hard ass, and that's what I like about her. But
she's a hard ass sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like my wife too. For whatever reason, I always gravitated to the girls who were like the perfect combination of like tough and I don't know, whatever my like loose definition was, but basically I wanted to marry somebody who could kick my ass if it came down to it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been in a mosh pit more than once with Katie. So she can hold her own.
Wow, that's awesome.
But yeah, no, I just could not put that damn game down. I am a sucker for westerns that aren't Western. Like, give me Western themes in any setting other than a Western, and I am sold. And I still like traditional Westerns as well. But I mean, I think the Last of Us 1 for me is like my favorite Western, just full on stop. Like, it is such a perfect ending. I was almost mad they made a sequel, but I actually really, really like Last of Us 2.
You a fan of did you like shoot, what's the Raylan Givens show? My brain.
Justified?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Justified.
Same.
Yeah.
It's one of those like,
Everyone should.
It's like, here's the Western, but it's set today, which is a odd thing, and it's great. I love that show.
Yeah, come for Raylan, stay for Boyd.
That's right.
That's why I love that show.
That's so good. Everything's great about it. Nothing bad.
So, speaking of traditional Westerns, the first Red Dead Redemption is also right up there for me. Like, that ending hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah. That game.
I was real sad. I still think about that ending.
Yeah. It's that's a hell of a thing, Red Dead, both of them, but 2 in particular. I don't think we talk enough about 2 these days. 2 is just like a thing that we all played, and now it just sits over there and does its online thing, but
it sits there and watches the 4th release of GTA 5 on a it's a third console. Third console generation release of GTA 5. Yeah, that's what RDR2 does.
Man, I have a hard time getting excited about that. But if they said they were doing something with Red Dead, I'd probably get excited. Red Dead's amazing.
Only means that you have a functioning brain.
Yeah.
If you're not excited for the third re-release of GTA 5.
Now, you got one more in here that I also agree with, the Portal series, in particular Portal 2.
Portal 2,
there's another example of world building without telling you too much, right? I would say.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think this might be straight up the first game that Katie and I ever like kind of co-played. And it's not convenient because it played it on PC and there's not a comfortable way to hang out in the computer room.
Right.
Yeah, this is just like, I remember like Portal 1 blew my pants off. I was so surprised by the world building and like that this
and the character.
Puzzle, yeah, this puzzle game that legitimately made me feel stupid. Also had an amazing story.
I mean, it made you feel stupid until it didn't, though, right? When you'd figure it out, it was one of the most elating, wonderful feelings in the world.
I wanted a new college degree every single time I cleared a room in Portal.
With you. Yeah.
But like, and then Portal 2 came out, and I remember being excited, but also thinking to myself, like, there's no way that they can live up to how much the first one affected me. And Portal 2 is just so above and beyond any expectation I had for kind of picking up the themes of Portal 1 and expanding upon it. Like, it goes so beyond what the first game accomplishes in terms of story. Obviously, the puzzles are great too, but I'm just from a story aspect. Rest in peace. Like, we just lost our last ferret like a week ago, and he was named Wheatley.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's no good. Yeah. Ferrets should live forever. I don't like this.
There's such good pets. There's such good pets, but like, if you get 7 years out of a pet store ferret, that's a good life. And he was pushing 8. So
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I can't really complain. I was playing Portal 2 when we got him, so
that explains a lot.
There we go.
I wish Valve could count to 3 because Portal 3 would be great. Let's get that that's going. Everyone else is now making like Portal likes, and I'd rather just play Portal.
I wish Valve would free the people that make their good games so that they can go to studios where they can make games again. Can we take the Half-Life team and the Portal team and then put them on a satellite studio that actually makes games? Yeah, that'd be really cool. Please and thank you.
Like, where are they now? They're just helping collect the money hose that Steam is, and they just what are they doing?
The money hose.
Probably not a bad place to end up. Like, no, I ended up at this studio that just rakes in money. They don't make a lot of games, but is the money good?
Boy, the money sure is good.
There's a lot of community content for Portal 2 though, if you're looking for new puzzles and stuff, because they have that whole like Steam Workshop thing, and there's so much community stuff.
Yeah.
I really
I
got to
so
go. I haven't
desperately
checked that
want-
out. There's got to be great stuff by now since I last poked my head in there. That's actually not a bad idea. The game still, looks good and plays great. And
It does, yeah. It's such a simple concept. So, I mean, a lot of the textures and designs and stuff, I mean, it's all just like walls, right? Like,
Yeah, it holds up.
it does hold up, yeah.
I very desperately need more narrative though. Like I want another chapter in that. Freaking Half-Life had like a little like tease, like maybe we're gonna cross universes and we're gonna bring in some aperture shit. Oh, just kidding. We're going to be the worst people on earth and never follow this up again.
Yeah, Steam hose, Steam money hose. That's what all it is. Well, all right. These are, of course, all great games, and I'm feeling like replaying most of them after you've described why you love them. There's not nearly enough time to play all of these at once, but I kind of want to. We want to hear what you think about narrative in games. How important is it? Is it important in your MMOs? Is it important on your stupid phone games? Like, where do you want narrative? Where do you not want it? And are you one of those people that are like, dude, make everything multiplayer. I don't care about narrative ever. I don't play the Call of Duty campaign. I just play the multiplayer. I know you exist, and I'd love to hear your point of view. Email us, tell us why, theinstance@gmail.com. Before we get out of here, I'd like to just throw it around the table and let everybody talk about anything cool they got going on this week. Let's start with Jocelyn. What's going on?
Well, I hope you don't get mad at me about this because so it's Extra Lifetime again.
Woo! Yay! No, that's good. I'd love that you are hardcore about this charity, and every year you do great work. So what could I complain about? This is great.
Them stealing your name.
Oh, just that. That's the only thing. That's all right. No big deal.
Listen, if you're not the first one to actually legally copyright it, you're out of luck.
Yeah. And if you start calling it the Fred and Can charity, then we'll have words. But right now, you're fine. You're good. You're totally fine.
So yeah, it is Extra Lifetime again. This is actually my 10th year now participating in Extra Life. And so this year I've got almost a $2,000 goal because I want to hit $15,000 raised for the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals. So we are doing that through October, November, and December. There's going to be lots of game streams, lots of giveaways, all kinds of cool stuff. So if you want to support, you can go to bit.ly/TGI Extra Life 2021.
TGI Extra Life. I'm going to put this in the show notes as well. 2021. All right, cool.
Yes.
Go do that. They do a great job every year. And also, The Gamers Inn's a great podcast. So you guys should be listening to that show when you got a minute. Garrett, anything going on over there with you, sir?
Oh, there's always things going on with me. But yeah, you can find every podcast I make over at amove.tv. That's amove.tv. I have a brand new show. As always, it is wonderful if you would go and subscribe on your podcatcher of choice, dear listeners, because it helps that new show in its early days. But you can go subscribe to Nexus Gaming News that I do with my my partner in crime from Into the Nexus, Kyle Ferguson. And we put up 2 episodes this week. One talking about the KOTOR remake, because that is one of Kyle's favorite games of all time. And I have barely scratched the surface of it. And we just put up an episode yesterday talking about the next big development and everything going on with Activision Blizzard, which is there's been a complaint at the federal level levied against Activision Blizzard.
Yep.
And also sexy wall art and WoW becoming fruit paintings. We talked a little bit about that as well.
Yep. Replace all your women with fruit. That's the answer. That'll get it done.
So if you want to hear about that, go to Nexus Gaming News, wherever it is you get your podcasts. It's also over at youtube.com/amovetv with a ton of visual aids cut into it.
Very, very nice. If you're looking for other Frog Pants content, of course, that's all available for your perusing at frogpants.com. Podcasts are a big fat link right there. You can click that and check out all the shows. You'll find something you like. And again, don't forget the 3 shows that are on the network, all gaming, all the time, frogpantsplays.com. I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Yeah, chat room, the extra